California streaming, of course. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is sponsored by Upstart, fair and fast personal loans. Go to upstart.com/MacVoices and find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments. Welcome to MacVoices. This is a talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, it's Tuesday night. It is 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and we are California dreaming here on MacVoices Live. Okay, maybe not. California streaming on MacVoices Live. Well, maybe not. Maybe we're just going to talk about Apple products. I don't know. We'd love to have you. Yeah, we would love to have you join us in the YouTube chat room. You can find that at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We've got some friends in there already. We'd love to have you join us. And of course, if you're not listening to this live, well, that's okay, because we'll be back next Tuesday doing it exactly the same way, at exactly the same place, at exactly the same time. So come on over there at that point. So yes, obviously, we are talking about the California streaming event tonight. It's only a few hours as we recorded this since Apple wrapped that up with announcements of new products on 3 different categories, and maybe half a category if you count the fitness application. So we're going to talk about those, break it up into each one of the categories. But for right now, we are going to introduce everybody that's here, and we'll take it from there. So first up, with a very different kind of background that apparently was freshly created for this, Mr. Mark Fuccio. Mark, it's great to have you.
Hello, Chuck. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yes. So you want to talk about your background now or later?
So I was listening to the event, on replay this afternoon after lunch, and just for some reason, just focusing in on all the adjectives and adverbs that they were using. So, got a pad of paper and started to create a list, and that inspired the background for today. To me, it's really interesting because they're always actually using this is, I think, a subtle way, or maybe not so subtle way, of manipulating people's impressions and expectations. So they always use positive and superlative sort of adjectives and phrases. So I give them a really great job for that. And I have some other comments about today's presentation, but I'll let you welcome in our other guests.
Okay, sounds good. So maybe I'll try that. So next up, we have the gorgeous Guy Serle.
Oh, I won't argue with that. If only it would work with Bluetooth, but it doesn't.
Thanks for being here, Guy.
Thanks.
Yeah,
nice to be here.
We know you had a little trouble getting in.
Struggled.
We appreciate it.
Damn M1.
Oh, let's see. Next up, I'm going to keep a theme going here. The fantastic Frank Petrie.
Fantastic.
What do you think?
How much does that cost me to get that title?
No, I just gave it to you.
Our biggest upgrade ever.
Charge.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening to all the audience.
Most durable,
and
too.
Don't forget, we'll take any equipment you buy for us from Apple tonight. Just forward it to Chuck, and he can divvy it out.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Next to him, at least on my screen, is the dynamic David Ginsburg.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Dynamic. Wow. Well, and I was going to say, Mark's list, you could go by also. The article just was out saying how many product placements occurred in Apple TV Plus shows. That they created a long list like that as well. So you're not alone in those lists. And I'm glad to be here.
Next to him, let's see, this is going to be a little bit of a tough one. I guess we'll put him in the role of lawgiver and say Justice Jim Ray.
How about jovial?
I'm just glad you didn't tag me as exceptionally high.
Okay. Yeah, great.
It's on the list.
Yeah.
The one that Chuck absolutely will not be able to use tonight is Thin and Light.
We,
Oh, I can get to
well,
Andrew.
depends on who shows up later. And last but absolutely not least, the amazing Andrew Orr. Andrew, welcome. It's good to have you.
Hey, good to be here. Excited because of this Apple event.
Yes, I imagine you all were a little bit busy today at TMO.
I was.
Yeah, I bet.
I was watching your stream on Twitter. You guys were busy.
Yeah. Yeah. So guys, I guess I don't want to waste too much time on the presentation itself, but I know Mark said he has some comments. I was a little surprised at how it started out because we didn't go directly to the Apple campus. We did end up there eventually. And of course, Tim was sort of the master of ceremonies. We saw a lot of new faces again. And a couple of those may be noteworthy, and some, hopefully we'll see them again. But Mark, I'll let you start. What were some of your observations about what the presentation itself?
It seems to me that they maybe are comfortable with using prepared video as a style, because this one, it seems they dramatically raised the bar on the cinematic and movie-like experience of their sets. So they use some of the familiar lab sets in the background at their circular office park, but many of the others were filmed against either outdoors or I guess green screen over outdoor motion and drone footage. So they're really dramatically improving the production quality of these videos, which is good to see. Sadly, and this is maybe jumping ahead, but sadly at the end, I would have expected it would have really been great if we saw a credit, set to something to the effect of, all of these scenes and videos were filmed on an iPhone 13 Pro Max, but we didn't get that for the entire show yet.
Yeah, only if you could have put it on a drone for some of those shots.
Yeah.
I could have.
I was
I don't
thinking
know. Those phones are pretty heavy now, especially the 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max.
Speaking of credits, I thought, it's interesting, and they've done this for several sessions now. At the end, they have a whole thing about all their COVID, and everybody was wearing masks that wasn't on screen, and which I thought was interesting, partly because I haven't seen that on anything else. There's lots of other, television that has been coming out in the last year, and nobody else mentions their, the fact that they were responsible about it, which doesn't mean they're not, but it's just interesting that Apple feels that they need to call out that, what they're doing in that regard. Now, I'm not saying it's good or bad, just interesting that they do it.
Well, no employees were harmed during the making of this film.
I was going to look to see if they had a comment about everybody being vaccinated, but they didn't quite go that far.
Yeah,
I thought they did, didn't they?
I didn't
no,
think the vaccination.
Like Jim was saying, they all said masking, distancing.
Yeah. I think I've seen one or two shows make reference to that. And I'm sorry, I can't tell you which ones. And it was most of those, as I recall, were early in the pandemic. Early when TV started coming back to after the full lockdown. But yeah, it seems to be very much something that they're very aware of and want to make sure that not everybody was, that everybody was safe. So,
kudos to Apple for doing it, because a lot of production doesn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's see.
You need an adjective for Kelly.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Let's see. The chaotic Kelly Guimont has joined us.
That is not on the list. That is not on the list.
Not on the list.
It's not even the same letter.
That doesn't make it incorrect.
Yeah,
and it sounds the same. So
it's supposed to be an adjective that Apple would use.
Well, give me a break. I'm trying to come up with them on the fly.
Jim's the critic.
World greatest. world's greatest or the one and only.
No,
More
but the-
responsive.
I'm trying to keep the first letters.
Okay.
New and
similar.
improved.
Show us Jim's board so we can pick one out.
Responsive
It's
was
Mark's
good.
board.
I
Yeah,
have
I don't
many
think-
things, and responsive is one of them.
I got one. Most advanced. Kelly
Completely
Guimont.
integrated.
Jeez.
Oh no!
Kelly,
Best
we
in
just
class.
Yeah. Hey, you guys are missing it. I picked letters that tried to match the first letter of
First
your
letter of-
first
right.
name. So that's
Oh.
why. And there is no K on Mark's list. So I went phonetic as best I could. Anyway,
Sure.
Kelly, we're talking just
points.
about the presentation of today, and anything that struck us just as an overall, and then we'll get into products. Anything hit you over the head?
Not super obviously. It just really feels like they've dialed it in. They've got pacing down. They've got, here's what we're going to do. And, the handoffs back and forth and what the transitions look like, as they do those awesome drone shots and stuff. I did think it was a little weird in the middle that all of a sudden it was nighttime. But otherwise, I think I said to Andrew, like, how long have we been watching this thing? Like, all of a sudden it's dark. But otherwise,
It was dark mode.
night mode. They had to show off night mode, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was the thing. But overall, I really like them, and I think this would have been a 2-hour deal otherwise. By the time they had audience reaction and oohs and ahs and applause and all of that stuff, I think this easily could have been a 90-minute plus thing. And we came in at like just over an hour, I think, by the time you got to credits
120.
and all of it. So, yeah. So I think it definitely could have been a lot longer, and it would have felt less dense. And I think I think we got like sort of the right pace of information and new things. And let's cut to the video that shows off the thing we just told you about. All of that. I appreciated all of those things. So I thought it was really nice. It feels like they refine a little bit every time they do one of these. And frankly, I will be very surprised to find that they regularly go back to in-person events. Like maybe the iPhone will get it, or maybe if Dub is in person again, we'll get that keynote in person. But I think they really, it seems, they're very good at them. So it seems like they really like doing them this way.
Well, what are they going to
I
do
see
with
that
the Steve
continuing.
Jobs Theater?
Well, do it for other things.
Or
Oh yeah.
They used it today. So
Barely.
It's
Yeah.
a great prop.
yeah.
Yeah.
expensive
They'll use it for
background.
stuff on, like campus events and things. And I'm sure they'll use it for like the bulk of the Dub stuff I think happened there. So I think it'll still get mileage. It won't be what it would have gotten otherwise, but I think it's certainly nice. So
yeah, Andrew, I wanted to get you in.
Oh, just to comment on Kelly said, well, the length kind of seemed weird, or it could have been further along. So far, the rumors do suggest, or they claim, that this is just the first fall event, and there's going to be another event maybe in October that will be more iPad and Mac focused, or at least that was the rumor before. We did see some iPad announcement today, so maybe there will still be a Mac focused event.
Oh, Mac AirPods, maybe.
Yeah,
I was saving
AirPods
that
too.
for later
I won't be buying
because
them.
that's one thing we did not see today. I figured we'd get to the point about like, what did we not see? And it's AirPods, but we've had enough chatter about them. I think they're coming. And, and so like the fact that we did not see them today feels like, we're going to get them next, end of October. They're going to tell us that they're going to start shipping, just before Black Friday. And then, there you go. So
Yeah. I've heard, sort of, just sticking my ear out into the valley here, just sort of, whispers and et cetera, that there may be coming out upgrades to the to the Mac Pro, as well as the your new MacBook Pro updates. So I think going back to Andrew's point, I think with putting the M1 in the iPad Pro earlier this year, and then updating the iPads here, I think they're done for 2021. But certainly, new iPods is a great idea, and maybe even upgrade to the Apple TV.
I'm sorry, new iPods.
iPod.
Sorry. I meant to say iPods. Yes.
AirPods.
AirPods.
You did say
AirPods.
iPods.
Again.
Yeah.
So that's just twice.
Okay. Yeah.
Honestly,
I think
iPod.
collectively, the entire room went.
Yeah.
Row.
I stopped the internet for a second. Cool.
I only did
Yeah.
because I just bought one. So
The only thing go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
I was just going to ask if anybody else thought they spent an awful lot of time on Fitness Plus, considering there really wasn't anything new.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have thoughts on
Chuck
that.
had lots of thoughts on that. I know Chuck.
Well, I don't know about thoughts. It's
Well,
just
from earlier today, I should say.
yeah. If there was a part of the presentation that dragged, if there was a part of the presentation that seemed like they were trying to fill time, and it seemed completely out of pace with everything else. It just seemed like, okay, you could have done this in half the time or less
Easy.
and conveyed the message.
I think it's
I
because
agree.
none of it was new. I think, like, to people who are paying attention to Fitness Plus, like, I do use it. So I know that every time I open it up, they're like, like every week there's new workouts available, and there's been new instructors added and new kinds of workouts available, not just like we have different, a slightly different cardio routine you can do today or something like that, but actual, like, a different variety of workouts, like the core workouts and stuff is, like, all of those things are changing. We got more instructors. Like, if you're using that stuff, that's all stuff that you already know. So they weren't telling me anything new. I think they were trying to maybe sell it to people because you'll notice it was right in the middle of the watch. They were like, we have a new watch and it's amazing. And with the watch, you can Fitness Plus. And now, and look at all the other amazing things you can do with the watch. And I think it's part and parcel of the phone stuff, right? Like, we get the phone, and then here's some cool things you can do with the phone. Here's the new stuff about the network that's awesome. Here's all of the camera goings on, and and all of that as big sort of tentpole features of the phone. And I think Fitness Plus to Apple, as far as Apple's concerned, Fitness Plus is a tentpole feature of the watch, because you'll notice they didn't talk about all of the ways that it integrates with everything else, right? They didn't talk about, you can raise your arm and send a text message, or you can raise your arm and, you can pass a phone call back and forth between your arm and your pocket and all that, like all the stuff that people actually do with their watches. They didn't talk about any of the real world stuff. They talked about, you can use it for Fitness Plus. You can work out. You can, because that's how Apple sees it. It's a fitness device that happens to do these other things. In my opinion, that's where that comes from. So to people who don't care about Fitness Plus, or already know all they need to know about Fitness Plus, whether it's because on this panel, like, we're people who use it, or we are people whose business it is to know what Apple's up to. Like, none of that was new and exciting to us, but I guarantee there are people who tuned into this or are tuning into it tonight, watching for the first time, who are being introduced to Fitness Plus. They had no idea that this was even a thing.
But
those other things you mentioned, Kelly, don't generate any revenue for Apple, additional revenue.
Jim Ray gets it in one.
But I felt like, and the more I thought about it and went back and watched it again, I felt like this was a little bit of misdirection, given that there were minimal updates, improvements to the watch. That that was sort of the idea. It's like, okay, we talked about the blood oxygen sensor, and then look over here at all this stuff you can do with the fitness stuff, and And now, you're starting to wear down on that. And, okay, now we're coming back to the next product. So,
yeah, but I disagree. I would disagree about one thing. In the last week, I read a lot of articles and saw a lot of stuff on YouTube where people who were athletes were complaining and praying that they did not go to the squared off sides because they were afraid that it would be a little sharp. And while they were exercising, it would cut into their skin. So by showing those round edges and then throwing in the exercising, I think they were sort of partially part of the idea was to placate some of the fears some people had.
Well, I think really what should have happened with the Fitness Plus presentation, keep it simple. Guided meditation. Oh, we're going after calm. You're now in 21 countries. We've expanded the countries. Okay, that's great. I'm glad to see it's in other countries. Enhanced filters. Oh, yeah, we got that too. All right, move on. I mean, but they're really just trying to they're trying to oversell it. And then
they did the same thing,
and rightfully so. I mean, they're trying to generate more interest in Fitness Plus.
You know, they did the same thing though with the content on Apple TV, where they were self-congratulatory about all the awards and stuff for Apple TV, whereas this event had absolutely nothing to do with Apple TV, other than they've got some second seasons of shows that they've been showing that are coming.
But it was called streaming, so
they didn't stretch that out. If the Apple Fitness thing had been as long as the Apple TV Plus thing, I don't think I would have noticed. And I didn't think it was that big of a deal. It just seemed a little long.
This edition of MacVoices is sponsored by Upstart, fair and fast personal loans. Visit upstart.com/MacVoices and find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments. Do you feel like you just can't catch up when those monthly bills come in? Wouldn't it be easier to make one simple payment with a better rate than all the rest? You need to check out Upstart. Upstart is fair and fast personal loans for whatever you need. Credit card debt, other high-interest debt, personal expenses. Upstart can help with all of them. Just do your 5-minute smart rate check to see what Upstart can do for you. It's all done online, and at the end you get a smarter rate because Upstart doesn't just look at your credit score, but also at your employment and income. You get your smarter rate, accept the terms, and you can have the funds in as little as one business day or $1,000 to $50,000. Sound like something you'd be interested in? Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/MacVoices. That's upstart.com/MacVoices. Don't forget to use my URL to let them know I sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/MacVoices right now and get started. Thanks to Upstart for their support of MacVoices.
Well, but the whole California streaming thing it didn't really make any sense because none of the products that they were showing today had anything to do with that. Other than
it was all about the background.
Had anything to do with what?
At the very, very beginning, they talked about Apple TV and some of the new shows or some of the new seasons of shows coming up. And then you didn't hear anything else about it for the rest of the event.
About streaming?
That was a traditional media move, though. We're going into fall. Here's our fall preview, just like you're used to getting from regular TV. What I learned a phrase for it today.
Those days are done.
I think California streaming meant they were streaming from California.
Yeah.
And they were making it like the set is California. Here we're down to San Diego. Here we're up to Cupertino. Here we're, they had these locations all over the state. And I think that they weren't saying we're going to talk about our streaming. No. They were saying we are streaming from California.
Most of the time, whatever they call these events usually has something to do with the major thing that it is they're going to talk about. And in this case, it wasn't. So, the whole California streaming thing was a dodge. It was a fake. And, I imagine all the pundits out there that probably spent the last week going, what could they mean by California streaming? Damn
Don't
it,
you
I
think
can't
that's why they did it? But let's go wind up the internet for a week before we show them. No.
Okay, guys, one at a time.
Guy gets it in one. I think they were just winding people up. Like, we're streaming. We're not having people in person again. Here you go. I don't think it's any more than that.
Let's not beat this to death because we have products to talk about.
Let's talk about
we're
products.
way off
That's the
track.
fun
We're
part.
way off track. Yeah. So let's talk iPads. That's where we sort of started off. And I felt like we got some really great new iPads.
We did.
I know. I already have one on order myself.
You're ordering it as we were doing it.
Yeah, actually, I've got the new Mini.
What color?
Sorry, space gray.
Same as a shirt.
Chuck.
The roller eyes. I was frankly surprised, and we talked about it this morning and this afternoon. I was surprised that the iPad, they introduced the iPad because all rumors were pointing towards, maybe they'll announce it. It might be a side announcement, but they really pumped it up. I mean, the 9th gen is a great entry level iPad. $329 base price, $299 for education. I'm so thrilled for the education world because it costs them enough as it is to stock up iPads, and I'm sure they're iPads. And I can say it firsthand from my wife who works at a school district. If their iPads are ancient and they need to be updated, and now they're going to have some easier ways of budgeting for that. So I mean, plus it's expanded. It's got much faster processor than it was. Did a great job. But the Mini itself, I was just blown away. I mean, it actually has a faster processor than the current iPad Air. It's an 815 Bionic. So now you've got the fastest midline of the iPads besides the Pros, of course. So I was super stoked about it, and I'm glad they did that because they're going across their entire line. They focused on the Pro last year, and now they moved it on to the mid and the low end, which is great.
Yep, and USB-C on the Mini,
and USB-C on. And there's only one iPad left that has Lightning, and that's the 9th gen, the new one.
They should have gone USB-C.
They really should have.
And then 5G. I was personally surprised that they had 5G with it.
They had never done cellular.
Yeah,
on a Mini.
I always thought they should have done that.
Yeah. So I brought this up earlier before though. When the Mini first came out, if you go back and look, there were so many pundits and so many articles saying, "Oh, the Mini is my favorite iPad." Yeah. And then when Apple didn't keep it up, I mean, they didn't. Then it kind of slipped away as people were looking for performance. And now I think you're going to see that happen all over again because as great as the 9th gen is, and the workhorses of the Pros, I think that Mini is just so nice and compact. And now they've made it even more capable. So I think it's going to be a lot of people's favorite iPads once they get to see it, and they save a little money.
Well, and another thing, they added center stage on the low end as well as it's going to be on the Mini, which is huge. And I think it's just going to make a big difference. Now people are going to want to use these iPads when they're talking with FaceTime, and the center stage is awesome. It moves with you as you move. So
I liked that it felt like especially for the Mini, that they took it seriously. Because remember how long we went before we got the previous iteration of iPad, and they were like, it's got a new processor and it's still Touch ID and the screen is still, it looks like a great big iPhone 8 and you're welcome, and we were all like, do you keep saying the word upgrade? I don't think it means. What do you think it means? And this time it feels like they believe it. Like they're taking it seriously. The iPad Mini matters to somebody at Apple. I don't know who, but thank you, whoever that is that went do better. I really liked that it caught a case of the square edges. That made me very happy because it gets the new pencil, which also makes me very happy. USB-C makes me very happy.
Too.
It feels Mini Pro.
That's right.
Like honestly. And I'm into it. Like if I hadn't just gotten a new iPad Pro, I would be very, very tempted by this Mini. And it wasn't even until the previous iteration of the iPad, the current until this morning iPad, that was the first time I felt like I could recommend the regular iPad to anybody. As soon as they started offering options, that was the first time I felt like the iPad, the regular iPad, is a viable device, and it's solid and it's fast enough and it does what you need, and it's a thing that I can recommend to you, whoever, family person, work person, like whoever it is. I
Especially
can
with
recommend
the
to you that the iPad is a viable device, as opposed to you really need a Pro in order to get out of it what I think you're going to need out of it. Like, you can buy an iPad now and it's great and it's way less expensive. And, if you want a mini, you can do the mini and that's way less expensive too. And it's going to give you all kinds of additional options now that you never had before, especially the
So I have a
5G
question.
and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah. Okay. So the new mini that came out today is $499. How does that compare to the old mini's price? Same, or it seems to me maybe it's a little higher, but I'm not sure.
That's a
swear it
great
was-
question.
Well, I think
I
the
swear
old
it
mini
higher
was
since
what?
it has cellular.
It was A12 was the A12 processor. I
I
mean,
think
they
was the last grade.
yeah, they like super bumped the mini.
Yeah.
They bumped it way, way, way up. I almost expected, as they were talking about it at first, that they were going to say, and we put the M1 in the iPad mini, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with the A15 processor. That is a great processor. And the iPad mini, if you don't mind having a smaller screen, is just as powerful. I mean, you probably won't really notice much difference in performance between
But
the mini
okay,
and the Pro.
Sure, but just bring it back to a second, just about pricing. So I'm wondering, $499, that seems a little higher given the price on their next generation. So Chuck, did you have a previous gen mini?
No. I think
Okay.
mine was a second gen mini. I have did not do the upgrades because I didn't see them as significant enough. But I mean, Kelly said something interesting, and I think it's across the board now. I could. In fact, it's going to be a little more difficult to recommend an iPad because these are all such capable machines. So you're going to have to really ask people what you want to do with them, and do you want the smaller form factor, or do you want just crazy power? But on the other hand, they're all crazy power. And look, we all know.
I think that's the point. It's just it's a question of what size device do you want? Because apart from, which generation of Apple Pencil to support, or is it Lightning versus USB-C? The guts of it in terms of the screen and the processing power are essentially equal.
Yeah.
Craig, I'm sorry. The previous model I just put in the chat, it was $399, and and that was that I believe that price was lowered after time because fifth gen's been out for quite a few years.
Yeah.
So that they moved it back up to the $499 price point.
Yeah, and the 256 model was $549. I'm not sure.
$549. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the amount of storage in the base one for this?
60.
It's 64 at 256.
I think it's 64 is the base.
I thought they fixed everything to at least 128.
But yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, 64 is $499.
Okay, so it's $100 more, basically.
Yeah.
than the
Okay,
previous
yeah,
model.
that's what I thought. Okay,
Because it's
so-
it's $649 for the 256 model.
Right.
But you've got the new processor, you've got the better camera.
USB-C.
Still not a top of the line camera, but you got the better
it's
camera.
an incredible device. I mean, it's an incredible
Mhm.
device.
Yeah. So
It's just that Apple's playing its normal tricks on. Oh, if you want to boost its ASP, you need to spend $100 more to double your memory.
More than double, 4 times.
Yeah. Can we just point out that storage is not insulting anymore? I mean, iCloud storage is still insulting, but can we just point out that, the entry level phone's 128 gigabytes, and what do you get to back that up? 5. Lol. So that was the thing that I thought was really nice that they finally caught up. Like 128 gigabytes in your phone is a reasonable size for a phone. Like,
Well,
I can live
let's-
with
we're not-
64,
But I mean, also
but-
from a semiconductor process perspective, at some point your devices will just get bigger. So at some point it becomes uneconomical to offer smaller devices, so or smaller sizes. So they may look magnanimous by upping it, but those may be the parts that they're able to get in volume and at decent cost.
Yeah,
I always assumed that's why we were still getting 32 gigabyte devices, was because Apple bought every scrap of flash memory in the Western world at one point. They were just trying to unload it.
Yeah.
So.
And Andrew, you, if I remember correctly, you are a guy that does pretty much everything on an iPad.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you probably have to have some strong feelings about both of these new models. I mean, does the Mini appeal to you from a portability standpoint? Do you think that the iPad, this base model, is sufficient for maybe what you would do? Where do you fall on it? Like not really. Like neither of those things. The base iPad, I think that's great for. At this point, it seems to me great for maybe educational purposes. I thought it was interesting that Apple, whoever the speaker was, they directly mentioned this is better or cheaper or more powerful than Chromebooks. I thought that was good. The iPad Mini, I did have one years ago. I really only used it as an ebook reader. So I eventually was like, I'm just going to sell this again. Yeah. But my iPad Pro that I have now is powerful enough for me. The screen is big enough for me where I think this is a device that I'm going to hold on for a long time just because it fulfills my needs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You could do LumaFusion on there, I'll bet.
Oh, it's got
probably could.
The horse
because you do them on the iPhone, so it's like, hey, this is almost like luxury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and Andrew, I don't know how long ago it was you had that many, but I'm willing to bet that the capability of an iPad at that point was not much. Like, even if you were doing everything that you could do with it, that list was still pretty short, like in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I really don't remember which model it was, but I feel like it was still in the kind of early stages of this is an iPad. It's a netbook, right?
Oh my God, netbook.
Yeah, there's.
Well, I was recording multi-track podcasts in 2014 with an iPad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so it could be done.
Sure, and now it can be done better.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure I read this quote properly. Craig in the chat room says, it seems like the 5G Mini, it seems like with the 5G Mini that they were almost pushing it as an iPhone Mini Pro Max. So,
I like
it. And Paul says he wishes the Mini had a phone, which is really interesting that, the iPhone Pro Maxes are not big enough for Paul. He wants.
They're assigned numbers. They're assigned telephone numbers by a cellular company.
Yeah, but you can't call them.
You can't call. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I felt like the iPad line was just a big hit, top to bottom. There was nothing that I would change there.
Yeah, I mean, despite not me wanting to get one, I thought this iPad Mini upgrade was fantastic. I love it, and I think it's great for customers.
Yeah. Mark, what are you trying to show that's being masked out?
It's being masked out. Oh, I just, while you were talking, I took a piece of paper and cut it to the size of the iPad Mini, so I can compare it to the size of my, now defunct, iPhone 12 Pro Max. And I like the size of the Mini. I've seen them before. I mean, that's a perfect size. I think as was it Andrew who's saying he used it for an e-reader, that perfect size for that, as well as just watching video and YouTubes and all sorts of other things. So, I think for a lot of people it'll be a great device. And for me, actually, if you with the pencil, just using it for note taking, that would be incredible, because my iPad, whatever it is, 12-inch iPad Pro, is a little big and unwieldy sometimes, just for note taking. But a small device like this, I think could be really exciting.
Mark, that's something that I'm just surprised. It was somebody mentioned it, just almost glossed over it, that this now supports the pencil. And
yes.
I agree. I think that's going to be a bit of a game changer too, because I don't believe, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the last iteration supported the pencil, any of the pencils.
No.
First. I thought the latest one supported the first, and that was like the big upgrade, was that you got the ridiculously charging pencil with the
that was the new whatever, the Series 9 or Gen 9 iPad. But the mini, they made a point that it supports pencil, Apple Pencil 2. Gen 2.
Yeah.
Well, this one does, but I thought that the previous one supported the first gen, but maybe I'm just remembering badly. It's entirely possible.
I don't know. But it just
it did work. The 5th gen did work with the 1st gen pencil.
Did it? Okay.
The iPad mini.
But again, this now is a no compromises iPad mini. Whereas before there were compromises of one kind or another. Now, at least for the foreseeable future, this is not going to be a compromise machine.
As far as power goes.
Yeah.
It's still a compromise as far as screen size.
Well, that may not be a compromise
that's a feature.
No. That's. I think you're looking at it the wrong way. Is people, like, some people want a mini iPhone. Some people want a smaller screen size. So this gives a range of choices for people. Now, for a big guy like you, it's compromise, but that's not how most of the other buyers are looking at it.
I'm looking at my iPad mini.
If you're a standard issue adult, it's going to be a different proposition, of course. But I think there are probably people who don't want a 10-inch screen, but want something that is more than a phone, even if they have a Pro Max or whatever. I think that there's absolutely a valid place for that. Somebody who wants something like not like a Kindle, like Andrew was using his for, but like a Kindle Fire, where you can read books, but also it'll do email or look up web pages or scroll Facebook if that's a thing you do. Like, you can do that on a little bit more screen and not have to have a whole thing like an iPad or an iPad Pro. Sometimes can be. So I think it's definitely an appealing option for a lot of people. So, and like I was saying, I don't think the small screen size. I think the small screen size is a data point that you consider, just like storage, or do you want cellular or anything like that. Like, if you're in the market for something tablet-y, like, these are all different criteria that you can use to narrow in on the thing that you want. And maybe you want something littler. I mean, I could probably carry that around in my regular purse instead of having to use the purse that I have that will hold my iPad. So for me, that would hold a certain amount of appeal.
We have a long way to go, and our panel has a lot more to say about Apple's California streaming event. Next time, we continue with the iPads, break into the iPhone discussion, and more. Until then, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.